Why do you think comedy is important?
Comedy is medicine for the soul. I want to give the Barbadian or the Caribbean perspective of life because it's still a mystery.
Do you think that social media kind of destroys stand-up in any way?
The thing about it is that talent can get you in the door, but to remain relevant, you have to really dedicate time to the craft. You're always told to follow the safe route. Nobody tells you about fulfillment, and that is where your talent or your gift comes in. When you're able to be authentic with who you are, you can become vulnerable. And it's only when you are vulnerable that you can be open to love and open to growth. But a lot of people were raised in survival mode and not in love.
Oh, wow. I could only imagine how hard it is to navigate. You're a comedian, but then you go and get serious when it comes to business.
I've been in boardrooms with executives and all they were saying, like, tell us a joke. You know, it's like, we are offering a product. Comedy is a product. This is show business, not show exposure.
Yeah. So comedy is serious business.
Yeah, comedy is serious business. It is. The real thing is that a lot of comedians are not taken seriously. And I suffer from that sometimes.
I also realize that there's a pattern where comedians are very prone to mental health issues. Did you ever had any effects of that?
Of course. I don't feel as if I'm on top of the world. Some days I get at the world, I feel like the world on top of me. I'm like, what makes me happy? I've spent so many years of my life making other people happy, you know.
Have you figured it out though? What makes you happy?
You got me tearing up, B.
Welcome to another episode of Gems from Friends. This is a podcast about entrepreneurs, creators, and professionals. My guests will be sharing stories about their journey and what they have learned so far while building their personal brand. You can listen to the episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you like to watch, you can see them on YouTube. But it's important to subscribe so that you can get notifications whenever I upload new episodes. But first, I need to deliver a message from one of the sponsors for this episode. I was thinking, as entrepreneurs, creators, and professionals, finding ways to make our money work for us should be top priority. But the thought about investing never felt reachable here on the island until I was introduced to Sagicor eBrokerage. They have provided new and simple ways to invest. Sagicor eBrokerage platform give us the opportunity to access a wide and diverse range of international investment products like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. I believe that this is a game changer for trading services. If you want to learn more, please visit sagicor.com/ebrokerage. Now, let your money do the work while you stay focused on the projects you love. Welcome to another episode of Gems from Friends. And today in the studio, we have actor, comedian, and show producer Simon Alleyne. Welcome.
Thanks so much, man. It's good to be here.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for taking some time and coming. I got asked though, you're a part of a group called Rum and Koke.
Correct.
And you probably get this a lot. Usually rum or the Coke?
I get that almost daily. I am the Coke.
You're the Coke.
Yeah, because, I am referred to I'm the darker complexion one. So there's brown rum and Coke is usually dark. So I am the dark, bubbly one. I see myself as the chaser or the mixer in the sense that, I get along with people and everything. So when we had formed the name for Rum and Koke, Crispin was saying, because your complexion, I gotta be the rum and you gotta be the Coke because the Coke is usually darker than the rum.
Yeah.
And it just stuck,
And it stuck. But why Rum and Koke?
Rum and Koke basically represents the universal comedy that we want to do because comedy for us has to be universal in the sense that you could go to a bar anywhere in the world and ask for a rum and coke. They might call it a coke and rum, whatever, but they know what you want. And we wanted to do like a kind of universal comedy that even if somebody's watching some of our comedy clips in India, they would know, well, hey, this is comedy, this is funny. I may not understand what the guys are saying or they may not be saying anything, but I can identify with it. So, and Rum and Koke also represents Barbados. I mean, Barbados is considered the birthplace of rum. So I think that the name Rum and Koke is quite catchy.
Yeah,
and also represents, it kind of gives you a geographical location because there's the assumption that most of the rum consumption is done in the Caribbean as well as the production.
So the Rum and Koke is pretty much was a branding position for you guys.
Yeah, correct. and to, separate us from comedy. And the name alone usually evokes some kind of laughter. He says, I'm Rum, and I say, I'm Koke.
Yeah.
So,
a lot to spin off from that.
Yeah, exactly. And
so this is your first time we have a comedian in. I promise you, we're not really going to ask you for free jokes. We're going to pick your brain and not your pocket.
All right. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, man. So I just want to know, like, how did it all started for you, and how do you go about, like, telling your family you want to tell jokes for a living?
I think from the time I was at Commonwealth School, I had a lot of sight about what I wanted to do. I love comedy. I love performing on stage because basically I'm an actor / comedian. I would say that I debuted on stage in 1997. My first ever theatrical production in Barbados was Stage 1 Theatre's Top 10 97, and that was directed by Amanda Cumberbatch. That was my first ever production. So I think my family, my parents and everyone understood that I appreciated anything to do with the arts. I did NIFCA years ago when I was younger, and from then I found that I had a gift or a talent in the performing arts. What is more marketable right now is comedy. So obviously the transition from being in serious theater plays to getting on stage and doing comedy or comedic sketches was the natural progression for me. So I did Laugh It Off, I did Pam Palam. I was in those shows for a couple of years. And then I did a number of UWI plays where we portrayed the lives of national heroes.
Okay.
So it was good to be a part of the whole process. So all in all, I'm a creative.
Right.
What is very marketable right now is comedy. Hence why I also do something called cocktails and comedy. So we can talk a little bit about that too as well.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go straight into it.
Yeah, because cocktails and comedy was birthed during COVID. We started doing comedy shows in 2020. Some of them were virtual. And then we actually had some agreements with a number of restaurants and bars. So 2 of our staunch locations to perform every month. We've been doing comedy twice a month over the past 3 years at the Sipping Room as well as the Mill and Co.
Okay.
The Mill and Co. up in Kingwood, St. Thomas. So the last Wednesday of the month, we're at the Mill and Co. And the second Wednesday every month, we are at the Sipping Room. And a lot of people get exposed to comedy because we get the same thing all the time. Well, wait, man, I know they got stand-up comedy in Barbados, which is a lot different than what I do with Rum and Koke, because Rum and Koke is more skits-based, improv, and so on. But to actually have a space where I have a number of comedians that do stand-up comedy is interesting, and is also very encouraging for the industry. Because my view, I think I really want to pivot into producing comedy shows. So that is where I'm at right now. I don't necessarily have to be on stage. I am more than willing to give way to younger comedians or even better comedians.
Right.
My whole thing is just to create that whole comedy industry. And this year, 2024, has been really good. I did some work with All Stars Festival that's based on the West Coast with Melinda Hughes and so on. So we did a collaborative comedy show at Cherry Beach Restaurant in Spikestown, and it went well.
Okay.
So I am trying to pivot on that and to continue to provide more opportunities, because my group of comedians include Khalil B, that's Khalil Bryan.
Okay.
Yeah. We have Jason Carmichael as well as Steve Garns. A number of comedians I would have worked with. I would have worked with Sun Rock, because Sun Rock is very versatile. He does spoken word, but he's also a very good comic. And it's been good. It's been good so far. And the whole premise for me is to create a real dynamic comedy industry in Barbados. I'm more than willing to share and to collaborate with other players in the market.
Right. So how challenging is it going from setting up the stage to then being on it?
I would say that setting up is a lot more running around. I think sometimes we as creatives, there's a bit of a dichotomy that goes on. You don't necessarily find a creative that's really, really good at the business side. Or sometimes you might find someone that's really good at the business side, but not the creative side. I've had to straddle both, because at the same time, if you're producing a show, you have to go up there, you have to get the venue, try to get sponsorship and, get the technical team, lighting and sound and so on, and engage artists locally and also overseas. So I think the production side, it is a lot more newer to me than actually being on stage performing. I feel more comfortable on stage than off stage at times. But definitely, if you're going to build something, you have to be very familiar with the workings of the industry, as we call it.
What they say, they call it the cook, the bottle washer, you
Correct.
gotta be all these other things.
Jack of all trades, but I intend to be master of a few of them. Even if I don't master all, I have to be a master of a few of them.
Yeah, it's good to know the different areas because then you could speak the different languages and you could then direct people accordingly.
Exactly. That is very important to me. I think it is important to, stay committed to what you want to do, despite the challenges. In Barbados, you're always told to follow the safe route. You get your degree. I have my degrees, first degree and a master's as well. But in terms of fulfillment, nobody tells you about fulfillment, what makes you feel fulfilled. And that is where your talent or your gift comes in, because at the end of the day, everybody leaves university or college with the necessary academic qualifications. But if you ask people 10 years later after college, do you feel fulfilled? Some of them might say, no, not really. This is not what I expected. I was told that if I get this, I'm going to get this job and so on. And there's a lot more security that you will find doing those things. But in terms of being fulfilled, in terms of being purpose-driven or feeling as if your life has a purpose, that you're here for a particular reason, your gift or your talent provides you that opportunity to feel as if you are making a positive impact wherever you are.
That's good stuff, man. Why do you think comedy is important?
Comedy is medicine for the soul.
Medicine for the soul.
Yes, comedy is medicine for the soul. I believe that what comedy does, good comedians are able to transport people from their current reality and their problems or whatever situations they have into a place of neutrality, because you're waiting to hear the joke, you're waiting to hear the punchline. And most of the time, good comedians are able to take things from life, everyday occurrences. You might be saying, I left home, I can't find my keys. Anybody had that problem? I can't find my keys. Going through the house, the dog had the keys, or the keys were somewhere else.
Yeah.
Things that are relatable. So I think for me, good comedians make the everyday mundane stuff relatable and funny, put their own funny twist on it. But comedy is important for mental health. That's how I see it. For me, comedy does a lot for me. When I hear the other comedians perform and I just laugh, I enjoy it. And I think about life, and it teaches me not to take life too seriously, because there's a joke in everything. There is humor, or should I say there's humor in everything around us, whether it's world politics, whether it is the status of the NIS, whether it's the potholes in Barbados, whatever. There's comedy around.
You would never run out of jokes.
Yeah, you never run out of jokes. But the beautiful thing about it is that sometimes comedy is a way of activism. When I look at people like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, those guys are able to use comedy to be real strict social commentators. They talk about racism, they talk about the gender inequalities and so on. All of that is covered in a comedy set, but in a hilarious way. You're laughing, but at the end of the day, you are registering what is being said by the comedian.
It probably makes it a little bit more digestible too.
Yeah, a lot more palatable. Yeah.
Palatable, yeah. I also think that you have to have some level of genius to be funny.
I agree. Some people are born naturally funny. I mean, they say things, their expressions, and that's where TikTok and as well as IG and so on has provided a platform for those persons who are naturally funny. There's the guy Certified Samson from Trinidad, the Trinidad guy that does all these videos. He plays multiple characters. Clearly, he is a funny guy, but he takes it to another level by creating scenarios. And the thing about it is that talent can get you in the door. But to remain relevant, you have to really dedicate time to the craft. And that is what I am learning. There was a Netflix special dealing with Kevin Hart as well as Chris Rock. And they were on tour together. And the amount of preparation and understanding jokes and writing down jokes and knowing when to do this joke as opposed to not to do another joke is a lot of preparation. I mean, it may seem as if the comedians are freestyling on stage. And that's why it's supposed to look. But ultimately, there is a lot of rehearsal and preparation to really give or offer a really good comedic set.
The work is really off stage.
Of course.
That's where the majority of the work
Of course. And the research, and then staying updated with the current affairs. Obviously, if you're in America now, you'll be doing research about the upcoming election and the fact that Trump might return to office and what the Democrats doing. So those are some of the things that you might cover in your set. But then you might look at things like abortion. Whose right is it? What right does a man has to tell a woman, okay, you can't have a child or whatever? So it is a lot of things happen around you. And I think that a good comedian is one that is observant, one that listens, one that is able to put a spin on things, so that when you hear the joke, it's like, oh, he came from it from another angle, and that's what really makes comedy interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that social media kind of destroys stand-up in any way?
Not really. I wouldn't say that
Or
social
comedy
media.
in general?
No, because what I have learned since I've had the chance to perform overseas and so on, because a person is funny on social media doesn't mean that they can move an audience of 1,000 or 400 or 500 people. The good thing with social media is that it allows for a lot of tags to be made, like a lot of hashtags, Bajan comedy, hashtag comedy is still alive and so on. So when people are trolling, looking for comedy, they might begin to see, the different comedic videos. I mean, look at the Africans, for example. There's so many hilarious shorts on social media from Africans. And that's how Emanuela and the others started. And now they have been able to tour and to perform. So social media hasn't hurt comedy. That's like saying that video kill radio. It hasn't. It only enhanced it, like before you had your MTV and so on. So you got your music and everything. Music and video go hand in hand. And I think that's how I see social media and comedy, because it is impossible here to be in Barbados to reach everybody without social media.
Right.
So it really provides the opportunity to be discovered and to also, get the likes or the views that you might require.
Yeah. How would you help someone, or what would you say to help someone that is kind of like funny in their head, but they're scared of the stage?
It starts first by writing. I am horrible at writing. My partner, she always encourages me to write down my material. You have to write down your material. By writing down your material, what it does is that it helps you to get out. It basically, you can vent on paper whatever it is that you want to discuss, and you keep it in its raw form, because just like how a potter with clay will have to, mold the clay, you have these big thought bubbles. You might come up first of all with the punchline and not the joke. So you write down the punchline, that's funny, and then you got to try to find a way to work your material in your set to get to the punchline. So it is developmental. Comedy is developmental. Most of the best comedians actually have writers. They have a group of comedic writers that sit down, they write, they say, well, look, these are some jokes. And they would say, yeah, I like that. No, I don't like that. Or I'm going to switch this. And it helps, because if you're on tour and you're performing, you need to have, your material that is good, your tried and true material, along with new stuff that you want to try.
Yeah. So you know that comedy in Barbados and comedy in a different, let me say, first world is completely different.
Completely different.
Is that like a challenge for you when you have to go back and forth, and it changes like how you perform, the writing?
Definitely.
Okay.
Different locations require different kinds of jokes.
Okay.
Different audiences. I remember when I had performed in Trinidad, and this is when Rum and Koke was first starting, and we had a good set. And we were ready to go on stage, but we recognized that the audience over there like sauciness. They like a little rawness. So you can't go on stage and don't sound too, not when I say raw, I don't mean necessarily vulgar, but at least have something that's suggestive or open to opinion. So our challenge was to find material, or to, try to manipulate our material to whet the appetite of the audience.
Yeah.
Because when you go to different locations, first of all, there's always a language barrier or the accent. Sometimes people don't understand what you're saying based on your accent.
Right.
But then there are other times now they're like, yeah, we can understand you. So you got to make sure that your English is at least has some clarity. It's clear. The English is clear, and the jokes resonate with the audience. Because you won't be talking to an American audience or Caucasians about standpipes in Barbados. What's a standpipe?
Because you still have to be relatable to
Yeah, so you have to be relatable. So you could talk about discipline, how we discipline kids in the Caribbean as opposed to how you guys discipline kids in America.
Yeah.
Talk about relationships, talk about cheating, or as we call it in Barbados, horning. Yeah. Those are universal topics that you can talk about that people will get once you deliver them. And, you have material that is relatable.
Yeah, for me, like if I had to think about it, to be a comedian, like, and then I never want to do skits online.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely different doing a skit for a local audience than for an international audience.
That's right.
And it's almost like, okay, you know the material that you want to do for local, but you know that it's not really going to stick outside.
Exactly.
But if you can make it relatable to outside, you get the numbers. So what do you do? How do you differentiate how Are you going to brand yourself, or is it going to be certain types of material? Like, so that's the part where I would have
Yeah.
a very hard time navigating.
Right, but you have to find what it is that people, there's like I talked about universal themes. Universal themes would include relationships, parenting.
Right. Yeah.
You could talk a bit about their politics, on our politics. How we got corruption in the Caribbean, but the corruption overseas is way different. We have challenges here, but your challenges are different.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of understanding context and being able to craft a comedy set that is able to, as I said, whet the appetite of the audience that is watching, that is live. And I think too, with us in the Caribbean, we physicalize jokes a bit, and that's why we're a bit more fluid on stage. So that's another dimension to the comedy. So we're not just standing up with a mic giving a joke. We also could physicalize some things and show you how we do things how things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever had what I call golf claps? You know what a golf clap?
No. What's golf claps?
Like when you just get a
Yeah, of course.
the little small claps
The recital.
How do you deal with that, like mentally, and like what does that do to your self-esteem? Not you in general, but comedians in general.
I could talk about me because I could talk about me. There's this being here. I just want to share my personal experiences for sure.
There we go.
We get the golf club, golf clap as you call it. I think it makes you think about your material and what you chose, but then what you try to do is to just engage one or two of the members from the audience. No, your comedy set was good. It's just that we were listening. There's some audiences that listen more than they laugh. Okay. And there's some audiences that laugh more than they listen. So it all depends on the kind of audience that you get, and if you prepare a set that they can identify with, right? So when you hear from the people on the ground, you don't ask people in your camp how the comedy set was. Man, you was good. Your camp gonna try to boost you.
Yeah.
Or they might say, well, nah, that joke failed or whatever. You go out to the audience, you talk to somebody once. I said, why? I didn't really get much response. Oh, well, it's because of this or because of that. You get an understanding of what joke hit and what joke didn't hit. Or you took too long to get to the punchline. And sometimes that can be my challenge personally. I am very descriptive when I talk and I share jokes.
Okay.
And sometimes the description is not always wanted. You could say, man, I was standing up at the bus stop and a car crashed. I would say, no, it was a Friday night. I was at the bus stop at 8:30. It had to be 8:30 because at 7:30 I had to buy my girl. But that's another story. So I know it was like bus stop at 8:30, and then all of a sudden I see a red Corolla with like some, a lot of description.
Right.
Sometimes that is necessary, but sometimes it's not necessary.
Right,
People just want the punch. Like, where is he going with this? Because sometimes you can lose the audience. So I think the same way how a musician would prepare a set and look at the songs to choose. I was watching some interviews when a lot of the other rappers were talking about DMX and his little ritual before he goes on stage and his whole, how he would do his set. He would end with the prayer. DMX does this prayer.
Yeah.
God, I want to thank you. He would start, he's off stage growling, and he get the audience worked up. And then he has a sequence and he performs like that in every state that he would have toured, and the audience gets it. And I think as a comedian or once you have a skill, a professional in any discipline, you know the formula. For example, iWeb has a formula. Red Plastic Bag has a formula. Rupee has a formula.
Right.
Hyper Sounds has a formula as it relates to music. Laugh It Off has a formula. What works for them in terms of comedy. And for even with me and cocktails and comedy and so on, we are still developing our formula to make sure that when audiences come and they hear us, they're like, yeah, boy, tonight was good, man. They may have me laughing bad. They might remember one or two of the jokes, but more so the feeling. They just felt happy. They felt great. You can imagine that he said so or she said so on stage. Yeah.
What would you like to see change or implemented in the comedian circuit in Barbados?
I think access to venues and more partnerships. I don't like to come across as cap in hand to work with people. I have a product. The product is X. If you want 3 comedians, this is the price. If you want us to do an hour show or 2-hour show, this is the price. This is what you're going to get. And I would want that people recognize that it's called show business, not show promotion. Because people say, I want you to perform at this comedy show, It'd be good for your, they say promotion. It be exposure. It is show
yeah.
business, not show exposure. That's what I want to say. I want to be quoted on that.
Yeah.
This is show business, not show exposure.
Yeah.
We don't want to do things for the exposure. If I want the maximum exposure, I could set up my phone and then put a 10 US and boost whatever it is that I'm saying.
Correct.
And people would see it. What I want to say is that I would want that people recognize that there's the ability to partner with others who might be doing the same thing as you. I think that in Barbados, sometimes we have a crab in the barrel mentality.
Yeah.
He doing comedy, well, I want to do comedy too. And that's okay because there's enough for everyone. I believe that there's enough. I'm not a greedy person. I believe that greedy people always lose out because they want to hold everything for themselves.
Yeah.
But if we look at comedy, Laugh It Off does comedy. Rum and Koke does comedy. Di Brown does comedy. Cocktails and Comedy does comedy. Seth Excel was doing comedy. Lord Zen was doing comedy. All these guys. And there is room in the marketplace for all of us to coexist. In so much to even perform on the same show together and everybody, gets a good payday or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would want to see more collaboration.
Okay.
I would like to see people recognize that it is an art form. There's a difference between talking at the bar and actually a comedian.
Yeah, I'm doing it as a job.
Correct. But there are a lot of karaoke singers out there, but then they're recording artists. There's a difference between a karaoke singer and a recording artist.
Yeah.
A difference in terms of quality, in terms of range, in terms of the delivery of the song. And I would want people to recognize that about comedy, that, it's not just a bunch of guys that, ain't got nothing to do on a Saturday or a Wednesday night and they just want to talk some foolishness.
I could only imagine how hard it is to navigate this situation here. Like where you're a comedian, but then you go and get serious when it comes to business.
You have to.
Or do you just put someone to kind of deal with the business side so that you remain likable?
But that's the thing. But the thing about it is that you are your brand. I heard you talking about branding and everything.
Yeah.
I did a little research. And whether you like it or not, there's some people who will buy into me because they say to me, oh, that's cool. That's the fella that's do comedy, man. Yeah, I want to see you and talk to you and whatever. You go in the boardroom. I've been in boardrooms with executives and all they were saying, tell us a joke. It's like, okay, I can tell you a joke, but it's like you got a friend that's a dentist. Man, do some dentist work for me. You're a dentist, show me some dentist work. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to the business side of things, we are offering a product. Comedy is a product. Just as if you're selling fish cakes by the road or you're selling can or bottled water, it doesn't matter. It is a product. And if you value the product, you would pay for it. Or you will find a way, I could incorporate this product to enhance what I have going on. And that's what we try to do. We try to reach out to drink sponsors. We do what we have to do to make sure that at the end of the day, at the end of the night, the guys can get at least $150, $100 or whatever that they can carry home. Because it's still gas, it's still time. Now that we're doing the bigger show, we got a big show April 28th, Cocktails and Comedy, A World of Laughs. That is where we're really trying to reap the dividends of the past 3.5 years of doing comedy. So we're reaching out, selling tickets and that kind of stuff.
So comedy is serious business.
Yeah, comedy is serious business. It is. And, you have to appreciate the work that goes into trying to make people laugh. Because there's some people who come to comedy show like, not me. Nobody can make me laugh. And then if you're good, they leave laughing or they leave sprawled out on the ground. They just had a laughing fit.
Who's your inspiration?
I have so many inspirations. I think for me, I love the work ethic of Kevin Hart. I like the no-nonsense attitude of Bill Burr, the stand-up comedian. I like Matt Rife, how he is. And as a young comedian, he's really outstanding. I like the fact that a lot of the comedians have given it their all and they're doing Netflix specials. A lot of so-called unknown comedians, as we call them, besides the big three that I would really mention, are doing comedy specials. So there is a demand for comedy. And I would say that there's a demand for comedic stories as well.
Yeah.
So for me, doing comedy, I want to give the Barbadian or the Caribbean perspective of life because it's still a mystery. I love Ali Wong as well. I like Amy Schumer. They do as female comedians, they do their own kind of comedy, and it's lovely. I enjoy it. What I'm realizing now as a comedian is that you have to be a lot more vulnerable with yourself to be willing to share stories, whether fabricated or not, about your life and how you deal with situations, because people really resonate with comedians that talk about their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I also realize that there's a pattern where comedians are very prone to mental health issues.
Yep. From robbing billions back down, boy.
So can we talk about that a little bit? Like, what do you think that is it? And did you ever had any effects of that?
Of course. COVID wasn't easy. You know. Not being able to do life as normal. It really was a challenge at first, being inside and, you know, and it's not easy when you think that the whole world is just blowing things out of proportion. But that's why I felt. I said, okay, yes, you gotta wear your mask and sanitize, but haven't we been taught to wash our hands, and if we cough or sneeze, use tissue? You know,
This is common knowledge.
This is common knowledge. So that's how I felt at first when COVID was going on. I was like, geez. So because a couple nasty people, I gotta stay in my house. Really? And that's literally how I felt.
Peter pay for Paul.
But Paul pay for all, you know?
Yeah.
So the thing about it for me was that I see how, I think the real thing is that a lot of comedians are not taken seriously. And I suffer from that sometimes. I get a little annoyed. Not annoyed. I talk to myself a lot. That's another thing too. I have my whole internal monologue going on, or should I say dialogue, in my mind. I always refer to a good wolf and a bad wolf.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have a good wolf and a bad wolf, and
Which one you feed the most?
I try to feed the good wolf, boy. But it goes beyond feeding. It's like a dialogue, because I visualize them in my head, and we all three of us sit down and we talk.
Yeah.
The whole way right here at this table. The bad wolf gives his part, the good wolf gives his part, and they're back and forth. And the Bible said to me, you can listen to him. He's a real so-and-so. And I'm like, nah. Honestly, that's what goes on. Because people think that because I laugh or that I smile, that I am not a serious person. I am pretty serious. I don't spend my whole day on stage. And my partner, she knows that about me. My children, they know that I'm very serious. And I like to be taken seriously when I'm raising a point or I'm making a statement about something or going about my business in Barbados, You're driving on the road and you have to keep your head on. And I try my best to be gracious to everyone, because it's like 5 degrees of separation in Barbados, But I know this person and this person, whatever. So I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But for a lot of comedians, people always expect them to be happy, or that you always have something clever to say, or sometimes people reverse it and they make fun of you.
Yeah.
And you got to be really careful. You got to be strong to survive in society. Like even in Barbados, I can tell you, it's not easy. I think that one of the things that really annoys me sometimes is that people are not as direct as they need to be. If you got issue with something, they say, and just deal with it respectfully. Say, well, look, Simon, I don't like how this was done, whatever. Rather than trying to go behind people's back and talk and gossip. I guess that's in every society, but we have a lot of haters in Barbados, man. I didn't recognize that. I don't really pay that any mind,
Right.
God is in control. But I think that there's too much jealousy in such a small island.
Yeah.
Where this whole belief that we got these finite resources. Like somebody was telling me, oh, you're doing your comedy show. That means that when I want to do my comedy show, I can't get sponsorship. I said, that's not true.
Right. Would we call that like the village
Yes.
effect, really? When everything is so small, then it feels like everyone is coming from a place of scarcity.
I think so. But a lot of people were raised in survival mode and not in love.
Oh, wow.
I am fortunate that my parents raised me in love. My parents raised me in love. I don't have to compete with anybody to get anything. I do believe that if I follow the path that I am on and I make the right decisions, even the wrong decisions have a way of working out for your benefit. But I think the challenge is those people who are malicious. And when I say malicious, I mean have malicious intent.
Yeah.
Who go out there to destroy and to pull down and to destroy and to, cause a lot of unnecessary problems. That's the issue. But I ignore situations and people like that. I stay focused on what I have to do. So a lot of my dialogue is inside. What I realize too is that, sometimes people are more into Coke than Simon.
Okay.
They want to meet this celebrity. They want to meet the fella that does do the ads or do radio or do
The
comedy.
persona. Yeah.
They want the persona more than the person. And that's okay sometimes, but not every day I want to be the persona. I just want to be Simon. And, my partner asked me something the other day that it almost brought me to tears. She said, what do you like? What do you like to do? What makes you happy? And I was like, Then my nose started to burn me and I walked away. I didn't know. I'm like, what makes me happy? I've spent so many years of my life making other people happy, you know. And now at 42, I've made some decisions in my life that some might say would be selfish or whatever, but my mental health and peace and going after my goals is very important.
Right.
And I can't compromise that right now. Not at 42.
Have you figured it out though? What makes you happy?
The platform for happiness for me is peace. And when I say peace, peace of mind. Because I internalize things a lot. So I've had to work on that. I go to therapy and stuff. I got a counselor that I go to and talk to, man. Real talk. That has helped me a lot. That has helped me a lot. I go to a counselor and, you know, he's able to give me some tips and say, you know, you need to examine your behavior and find out the root cause. Why were you so defensive? Let's say I get defensive. It has nothing to do with the action of the person or the scenario. It's my own trauma that I was carrying from young or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that I am figuring out for myself that I am most happy when I'm pursuing my purpose. And my purpose is in the production of comedy and doing entertainment and doing comedy and acting. I love to perform on stage. I like to produce stage plays. I also like to produce comedy.
Right.
That is what I love. I can really say that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
I love to do that. And I get a sense of accomplishment. I get a sense of purpose when I'm able to say, well, hey, look, we did this play. Lots of people saw it and new talent was exposed and were also compensated for being on stage.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's say you are one of the lucky ones who have found something that you have passion for and you have a platform to exercise it.
A platform that I created too.
You created it.
That's another thing. And that's another thing I would like to encourage all of the viewers of your podcast and everything, you know. And the reality of it is that if you find that the system is not accommodating you, you gotta create your own platform.
Yeah.
You know, there's a quote. I mean, and there's so much knowledge and all these witty quotes on Instagram and Facebook and so on about, you know, I don't worry about sitting at other people's tables. I will build my own.
Build your own.
But if you build your own table, it's going to require a lot of work and commitment. You can't give up on yourself. And I think for me, I have taken ownership of, you know, trying to earn more because that's where show business comes in because I got to supplement my income. One salary in Barbados is not enough to support you.
Nope.
And that's not a bad thing because we're not like Switzerland and other places. So let's get real. This is the 21st century. Along with going to your government job or your private job, don't try and see if you can hustle something on the side, bring in some clothes and sell. But you got to find your passion.
Yeah.
I'm not good at selling clothes or selling food. But what I can do is to create a comedy show that you can come, you pay a little $30 or $35. You might even get a free drink or whatever in between, and you enjoy yourself, you laugh, and then you post and say, yeah, cocktails and comedy was good.
I think a lot of people may be scared to build this table or to create their own platform because they're not really sure if there's a market. A lot of people don't really have the tools or they don't know the know-how of the strategy and how to build that. And then there's some cases where they don't even know what their passion look like because there's no example of it. So then they're a little lost.
Yes.
Because they're seeing all these other things popping up, but but I'm none of that.
That's it. You don't fit into that mold.
You don't fit into anything. So that part is where I would, I feel a lot for those people.
Correct.
So I think it's important for us who are out there and doing things to encourage people to stay curious and be open-minded because that's the only way that you can actually find it. When you actually keep exploring.
Correct. And I think that's the thing. But even to follow up with that point that you made, the biggest problem is the fear of failure. This society magnifies failures of people.
Yeah.
This society will not magnify the great things that you're doing. They will more magnify the failures and the fight that you eat or whatever. That's what people do. We blow up the things that are negative.
Right.
So I think sometimes people are afraid to try new things or to create something different or new because of the fear of failure. But I have failed. I have failed at many things. But one thing that I have not failed or given up on is myself. Don't fail yourself.
Yeah.
Do not fail yourself. Don't give up on yourself.
We got to change the perspective of failure.
Right.
I think failure is part of the success.
Of course.
It's a stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone because it helps you to become better and to do things differently. I was watching the movie Rush in 2013 that was dealing with the rivalry between back in time Formula One drivers, and the rivalry in the sense that those guys were trying their best to become better drivers, to improve the aerodynamics of the car and to compete. And life is about competition, whether we like it or not. You compete with yourself because you have to compete with other people in the marketplace, but you don't have to do it in a bad way. I mean, there are other people that do podcasts, there are other people that do interviews, what you're doing, but they don't do it like you.
Exactly. And you got to fight for your spot.
You have to fight for your spot. You have to.
Yeah.
Nothing is given to you. Nothing is given to you. But through hard work and dedication and commitment, that is where you begin to see the dividends. You don't see the dividends as you start, but as you begin to build, it happens. And I'm grateful. I love Barbados, man. I love this country. This is all my support network really is here. My parents and so on. My parents mean the world to me.
I think the failure thing could have came from even school because we've been looked down upon from any little bit of mistake we made.
Course.
So coming up, you're so scared to display something.
Of course.
You're scared to put your hand up because you don't want to be wrong, because of how people can look at you or what the teacher may say or whatever. Or how disappointed the parent might feel, all these things, all these fears that you bottle up, and then you bring it into your adult life.
And that's where a lot of anxiety comes. You know, I had a problem with anxiety. I was always nervous.
Yeah,
and my thyroid acts up. I have a bit of a thyroid issue, and when my thyroid is really acting up due to stress, I am very sleepy, very cranky.
Right.
So I try my best to not internalize things. But anxiety, I can tell you that anxiety levels around people in our age group and even younger folks are really at their highest.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has a lot to do with the content of information that they're getting.
Comparisons too.
Of comparisons. Like, I mean, if you go on Instagram, look at some things, but don't compare your life and think, buy into this idea that because you're not posing by a luxury car that you have rented for the photo shoot, that you haven't arrived.
Yeah. That stuff is so dangerous, man.
It is, because it becomes like a poison.
Yeah.
Where you are thinking that, and some people walk around these delusions, that I am it. Any man that got me, I am it, or I am the bag, I'm the prize. And some men are like that too, not understanding that really your prize is when you're walking in your purpose. And you're able to fulfill those things that bring you true pleasure, that make you feel as if you're one with your spot in this universe. You know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So for me, comedy, it is comedy and acting. I love to act on stage. I love to see actors doing their things on stage. And I love to listen to good comedians and enjoy the comedy, man, for real.
Let me get into the relationships. You said before when you go into meetings and you go to different functions, people want you to be funny all the time.
They want you to be funny.
Does that happen to you when you're dating someone?
Initially, yes. Like, wait, this is for court, but I know you're so funny, yada, 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 yada. But they soon quickly recognize that I'm a very serious guy. I will laugh, I have fun, but when I think that I'm not being, and that's the thing, it is extremes. And my counselor has sent me to work on the extremes because people say that you go from 0 to 100 quick. My 100 is like almost 150, So I've been working on that a lot because at the end of the day, people think that because you're funny that they can, manipulate you or do things that, they won't do to a normal person, because they think that he's funny, so he will understand it's a joke. Because everybody believes that they're funny. Yes, you're funny in your own way, but I am not in show mode every day. If I'm out, with my partner, she understands me. We get goofy sometimes, we play around, but she knows there's a very serious side of me, and she has a very serious side too. And once we are true to each other in the moment, because every moment is not the same. So the moments that you share with your partner would dictate the kind of energy that you'll be giving off, the kind of vibe that you want to give.
Right.
There's some times that you're lighthearted, there are other times that you're more serious. But definitely, I think that people, I think sometimes people only take you seriously when you have to do something that is out of character. Sometimes as I was saying to myself as a quote today, I say, violence, some people only understand the language of violence.
Right.
Thankfully, I'm fluent in it. you know. So that's why I said as a quote to myself, wow, you know, people only understand violence.
I want to circle back on the
man.
mental health thing a little bit because I do believe that you are part of a organization or something for mental health. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was, Lighthouse Foundation is a charity that I started years ago doing message-based stuff.
Okay.
But I work with different players in the NGO community. Like, let's say that they want a message done or whatever.
Okay.
But I am in a group called Men's Empowerment Network Support. And that's with Fabian Sargent. He's the head men's. And that's particularly a group that helps men with mental health issues and so on. And to provide a platform, a safe space for men to talk.
Right.
And it really is helpful because, you know, society sometimes doesn't really recognize or appreciate the feelings that men have. You know, and if you keep holding it inside, you're going to blow up, you know?
Very true.
And you don't want to have a public meltdown in front of everybody.
People don't think that men go through these things or they shouldn't go through these things because they're perceived to be strong.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We're physically strong. You know, while women, on the other hand, can be very mentally strong. Women are very determined.
Yeah.
Women are, you know, mentally they're very strong and focused on what they want. You know, you ask a 10-year-old girl as opposed to a 10-year-old boy, what you want to do in life? I want to be an accountant. Your little boy at 10 might say, you know what? I just want to play games and have fun, you know? But then he will come into himself because maturation happens at different stages for both boys and girls.
Right.
You know? And I think that's what society has to understand. Even if you're raising a daughter and a son, you will recognize that sometimes girls mature a little faster than boys in terms of having focus and what they want to go after. But, you know, as men, sometimes we explore, we try to discover things about the world around us and ourselves. And then we finally say, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is the area that I want to go into.
Okay.
But a lot of things I have, you know, mental health is important because I do talk to myself a lot, you know.
The two wolves.
The two wolves, boy. Seriously, we have conversations and most of the time the good wolf has a very good track record of winning.
Right.
But the bad wolf is always leave you with a thought, you know. I know you ain't gonna do nothing but think about this. And that thought is in the back of your mind. You're right, you know.
Yeah.
So it's serious business. But for me, I think at this stage, I think what everybody needs to do in this world is just to be authentic.
Yeah.
I am searching for my own authenticity. Everybody needs to do that. When you're able to be authentic with who you are, you can become vulnerable. And it's only when you are vulnerable that you can be open to love and open to growth. You know? That's the only way that you could be open to love and to growth. That's the only way. When you think about how vulnerable a caterpillar is when they're in that cocoon, to some degree they're protected from the outside elements, but nobody can tell us what goes on inside of the cocoon.
Right.
What about those caterpillars that don't make it out to become butterflies? Huh? It's scary. But that process of shutting away from the world and shutting away from distractions in that little cocoon and then emerging as a totally transformed person, that is important.
Right.
And I'm learning to take time out to focus on me more, focus on improving myself. Because, you know, we say we want to change the world, we want to make the world a better place. Well, start with yourself.
Yeah.
Start with yourself. Don't be a crusader trying to, you know, save the whole world and you got your own issues to deal with. Fix
the man
yourself.
in the mirror.
The man, of course, MJ, the man in the mirror, man.
Yeah.
That's where the biggest battle occurs.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
I get in your brand archetype, because I usually could tell people personality and stuff. You come over not just jester, but very sage. Have you always had like this wisdom, or did you have to go through a certain set of experiences and you get to this point?
That is so true. For me, I have been around a lot of older people. And I think by having a good relationship with both my parents, you know, and, you know, my background is in the church too. I was a youth pastor years ago. I was a youth pastor. Yes.
Okay.
Brother Simon, man. Yeah, man. So the church has influenced me a lot to some degree.
So is that why you couldn't be rum?
No. I mean, I could be rum because after all, Jesus' first miracle was what? Turning water to wine.
Yeah.
Man, like, Jesus, what's going on? Jesus said, yeah, bring drinks. There we go, man. It's in a wedding party so the wine come, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, but Christianity was a double-edged sword for me because depending on your relationship with the Lord, you go through a phase where you think that you're not good enough, a lot of self-hate. I'm not good. I'm always failing. I think about things. I think about titties. You know, I want women. I want to do this. I want to do threesomes. I want to do all kind of stuff. That's being real.
I'm being
real, bro.
Be real.
So a lot of Christian young men at some point go through this stage of self-loathing. You know, it's like, you know, I go to church, but like I fighting all these desires. I fighting this. I'm fighting that. So that's one part, self-hate. For me now, I'm in a stage of affirmation.
Right.
Because I'm studying the Bible more and recognizing that nobody in the Bible, they're perfect. We talk about David, King David. Oh, the Lord loved David. Yeah, David like women too.
Noah was a drunk.
Yeah, Noah was a drunk.
Moses murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody is perfect.
Like Paul.
Yeah. Was Saul before it?
Was
persecute the church.
Real people in the church.
Man, of course.
They still get used.
Of course. So for me, being used and feeling good with God and the universe is going back to your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So once I find that for me at this stage of my life, once I commit, or as my partner, she was saying, you know, is the point of no return. Either you're doing this comedy show or you ain't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to that stage, and you know, as a creative, you're like, you know what, I'm going all out. I'm doing gems and friends.
Yeah.
I'm doing gems with friends or gems from friends. I'm doing this.
Gems from friends.
Sorry, gems from friends. I'm doing gems from friends, and I'm not letting anything stop me from doing this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You get to the point of no return, and that is a good place to be, because either you show up and do it, or you don't do it. And you don't want to let down yourself. I don't mind letting down people so much, but I can't let down myself.
Yeah, letting down yourself is actually a little bit more dangerous.
Yes.
Some people think that you don't have consequences of letting down yourself, but you create a very
narrative.
bad habit internally.
Because you never finish stuff.
And
You know,
you realize
you're not a
repeat it.
finisher.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not a finisher. You start things, but you don't finish them. And the thing about it is that your passion determines your priorities. If you're passionate about something, if you're passionate about a woman or whatever, you make her a priority. If you're passionate about your garden, you know, it's like, I got to get home, I got to deal with my plants or deal with my dogs, you know? So I think that once you find your passion and that really brings you pleasure. It says that, even in the scripture, not trying to be a preacher, but
do your thing.
You don't know. It says, you understand why God created man, to bring him glory. It says that God will come down in the cool of the day and reason with Adam. God will come down in the cool of the day and reason with Adam, his finest creation, because God saw a lot of himself in Adam.
Right.
And he wanted Adam to see the divinity. So Adam was there, you know, talking to God, and, you know, they finishing each other's sentences because the mind of God was in Adam. So Adam never saw a woman before, but when she came, he said, that's woman. I can call her a woman. And he rationalized it. You know, the animals, God didn't name the animals. Adam, man, the first man, named all the animals. And although creation stories might vary in different religions, what we do recognize is that the divinity that every human being has, and you got to access that. And I think for me, at this stage of my life at 42, I trying to realize my divinity more. I trying to turn on the noise outside. And, you know, I was saying recently that, you know, I really got a lot of friends. I got a lot of acquaintances. People know me and stuff, but nobody don't check on me. Besides my mother and father, nobody don't really check on me. My brothers might call me in between. I might call them in between. Nobody don't check for me.
Yeah.
And I was, at one point, I had a little resentment. I was like, all these people say I got all these 4,000. I got close to Facebook, told me I got 4,900 or 980 people that I got to consider, you know, you can't add nobody. All these people following me or liking me or whatever, but there's no connection. There's no human connection.
Yeah. It's just surveillance cameras.
But that's it. And that's what I realized. I was telling my partner, you know, you can't put everything on social media. Some people were dead if they had to know the places you went to, how you live. And there's some things you have to keep as a memory and as a moment with your significant other, because the surveillance is sick, man. You know, and there are people that just follow you to see what you're doing, to see if you're doing better than them.
Right.
You know, to
That's
see.
true, yeah.
Yeah, it's not as if there's a genuine concern.
Yeah. And what is it about people where when you're doing well, they feel lesser than? I don't know.
I don't know why that is.
I like to see people winning.
Of course.
It's inspiration for me.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Wandy, and I know this particular boxer, you know, people say he's really cocky. I love Floyd Mayweather. I mean, like, I love Floyd Mayweather in the sense that he went into boxing with a goal. He said, you know what? I'm going to try and have a perfect record, but I'm going to leave boxing on my terms.
Right.
And I'm going to be the highest paid boxer ever. He got more than $100 million for one fight.
Gee.
Yeah.
Wow.
On more than one occasion, when he fought back here, he got $100 million. Then when he fought, it was Jake Paul. Yeah, one of the Paul brothers, he got close to $100 million. And he went from being just a boxer to becoming a boxing promoter.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's a
with the money
brand
team.
of himself.
He's a brand of himself.
Whatever he touched, this turned to gold.
Correct. And, you know, when I see him with the cars or I see him in his house, it's not so much the material things that I'm looking at, but I'm looking at the fact he would say, well, hey, look, I posted this to let y'all guys see, you know what? That if I did it, you can do it too, man. Because I remember there was a time he was on Shade 45, or he was on Breakfast Club, and they wanted Floyd maybe ever to read something, and he couldn't read about.
Right.
But yeah, a man that can't read getting $100 million.
$100 million.
Come on.
Whatever.
He's a legitimate billionaire. So he built his empire, and what I like is when people take steps and say, you know what? This is the path. This is the life that I want for myself. I'm going in this direction.
I don't want to read how broke I am.
No, of course not. Of course not.
So,
you want to move towards what it is that you want. And I think that's the message. That's what I like about, you know, even your series that you're doing.
Right.
That you get to hear from people and the realness. You know, like I tell you, I struggle a lot with anxiety. So I've been working on anxiety, working on trying to do things. Sometimes I don't keep the radio on in my car. I'm just driving, and my thoughts, my therapist has said, you know what, control your thoughts, try to get back to reality as much as possible.
Right.
But that's still dangerous because I'm a creative. I have to step out the box to become creative, but I can't live there, you know?
Makes sense. So then you got to strike a balance
Yes,
between,
you have to.
you know, listening to voices and the two wolves that you got.
That's right. That's right.
And then not blocking out the downloads.
Correct.
For the creativity.
Exactly. And that is why, sadly, if you look at a lot of the people that are really good in the arts, all of them have an addiction, whether it's drugs or whatever, sadly. You got to be able to manage those things.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
When we look at Michael Jackson, you know, he had his addiction with the pain, the heavy pain relievers, painkillers. The other thing, too, is that... you know, because you want to be in that creative space, sometimes you need, some people take the drugs to help them, you know, get to that place.
Yeah.
But the problem is the dependency. Anything that you're dependent on becomes an addiction. For others, it might just be gambling. For others, it's women or whatever. So you have to try your best to, you know, control that bad off and say, yo, take it easy, buddy.
Yeah.
We got goals, we got plans, don't. All right, take it easy. But I want to eat. Nah, you take it easy. I got a liquid debt for you, buddy.
It's true. It's all about control.
It's
and
about control.
You just got to rely on your right source.
Exactly. Jehovah God, man. You know that.
Rely on your right source.
Yeah, the great architect. You know that.
So we can go into, I got this thing, I don't know if you get to see it yet, but I have this thing where my guests before left a gem for you. They didn't know that who was going to be on. I didn't even know who was next. So you're also going to have to leave a gem,
of course,
for the next guest. Nah, man, I'm having a good time.
Good.
I actually didn't. I don't know. Like, we always have this perception of a comedian, and that's how I know it has to be very difficult for you, because you don't think about the depth that they may have. You know, as a person.
That's sadly.
They have the same struggles.
Of course.
They have the same thoughts. They go through the same things, you know.
And you know, sometimes you don't feel, every day I get it, I don't feel the best, you know. I don't feel as if I'm on top of the world. Some days I get at the world, I feel like the world on top of me.
Right. So the other thing before I play this clip, I wanted to ask first, now that you just bring up that point, what do you do when you have to make people laugh, but you are down? Where do you pull? Where do you go to pull that funny?
Boy, it is hard. Even when you're down, you have to, for me, I got to dichotomize my whole mindset. And that's where I would turn off the bad wolf, disconnect from the bad wolf altogether and focus on the good wolf.
Okay.
But in a more practical way, I go back to why I am doing what I am doing. And I think that's what drives you. When you understand your purpose, why am I doing this? Even when you don't feel like doing it, even when you're not up to it, say, you know what, I'm trying to build a comedy industry here in Barbados. So there's some nights I don't feel to perform, but because I am committed to my goal and the purpose of what I am doing, my journey is to create a comedy industry, I get on it. And then as I start to do it and I listen, and I talk to the comedians, you know, the guys can pick up my energy. Like, Simon, you're already on. I say, I'm already feeling it tonight. Don't worry, you can be good. That's, you know, get in there and do what you gotta do. And sometimes the audience has a way of lifting you. Somebody might say something funny. Somebody might say something off. And then, you know, it brings a good reaction or a place of comedy for you. Something to play off of.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to really remember your purpose. It's just like any athlete that is training, or even boxers, the training can get intense. UFC fighters, the amount of sit-ups, hitting the punching bag and so on, it can be physically draining.
Yeah.
Physically. And then the mental drain you have to watch, because if your mind is telling your body it can do it, and your body responding to the stimulus from your mind, then the mind is like, yeah, I'm done with this. Your mind shut off. It's hard for the body to continue doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
So you'll have to dig deep down and say, you know what? This is what I want. You want your title shot? You want the belt? Yes. You want to be known for good comedy? Keep at it. Push.
So the why
is what guides me, man.
is important.
Yes.
What is important. And the how becomes easier the
yes,
bigger the
when
why.
you know the why. Once you know the why am I here? Why am I doing this? It becomes easier.
Got it.
Yeah,
Right, so
man.
I can go straight into this clip now that was left for you.
Oh.
This is Divine, by the way. So this,
Excellent.
you know this is what it is?
Of course, that's Ras. DJ Ras, man.
Don't be afraid to fight. Because the truth is, if you create something good, people will want it. People will want to take it from you. People will want to copy it. People will want to emulate it. People will want to recreate it. You gotta find a way to keep it. Don't be afraid to fight. I find a lot of people shy away from the fight. Fighting is all a part of it. You gotta fight for what you want. You gotta fight to keep what you want. You gotta fight to keep your place. You gotta fight to be there. You fight to get there. The fight ain't stop. The fight no start. The only time you're fighting is if you're dead. Don't be afraid to fight. And fighting obviously don't mean physical fighting. But you gotta be ready to go war for what you believe in.
Yeah,
And you can't be afraid to shun away from that fight. Fight.
So right. You got me tearing up, B. Real talk, but
That was for you.
thank you.
And
This is as real as
he
it
had
gets.
no idea who it was for, by the
No,
way. But as
wow.
I tell you, it's all divine.
I believe so too, man.
Yeah.
And talk about fighting, this stage of my life has been characterized by fights, because I'm fighting to break how I have been seen before this time,
Right.
because they're trying to go after what is for me.
Correct.
I try, and the thing about it is that what is for me will always be for me, you know? And yes, that is a very timely message, because a lot of the fight for me is internal. And redefining yourself, you know. Going back to the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. The caterpillar knows that in himself, he says, you know what, I gotta change. Change has to come. I don't know what I'm gonna change into, but I do believe that it's gonna be better than where I am.
Correct.
And you have to fight to protect what is yours. You gotta fight to remain relevant. You have to fight to remain, have your mental health in check. It is a fight, and it's not a physical or verbal fight, as he was saying, but you must have that intentionality. And I think the fight goes back to being intentional. And what I have realized in my life at 42, I wasn't intentional about a lot of things in my 20s, boy.
Right. A lot of us were.
I was not intentional about a lot of things in my 20s. I wish I was, because at 42, probably the journey here might have been easier, or it might have been different. But I could tell you that, you know, you have to become intentional, and you have to love yourself. Love yourself despite the failures, despite not necessarily living up to every expectation of others. Because for me, like I said, I spent a lot of time trying to please people. So you're a comedian, people expect that whenever they see you, hey, how you doing, man? Coke. And they ask you the same question, Coke, what part of the rum? I hear that all the time, B. And nowadays I just laugh. I say, well, rum wherever, you know. But people always have these sometimes unrealistic expectations of you that they, of themselves, can't live up to. and it can put a lot of pressure on you that leads to anxiety and then bad habits and bad coping mechanisms.
Yeah. So what you gotta try to do is not let the unhealed people bleed on you.
Wow, because they might turn me into a zombie. Boom, that's it. I think that's it. That's the analogy there. But no, seriously, I mean...
No, because you're doing the work. You're doing the therapy. You're working on yourself.
I have to, boy.
You're doing your business. You're working on your art form.
Right.
So you can't allow people... And you just said it, where people would not be able to live up to the things that they expect of other people.
Correct.
And they tend to do that because they need to make themselves feel better.
Correct. But you don't have... The thing about it is that we have become so... And even my therapist was telling me this. He said, Simon, you rely too much on external validation. So I had a list of things, man. I'm sorry I don't have the list here. External validation is a dangerous thing, because if you get high on the praises of people, you will die from their criticism. No,
And you can't control that. You can't control what other people praise.
Exactly. Yeah. You cannot. I love constructive criticism. I like when somebody can tell me, well, Simon, that was good, but you could have done this, so and so and so and so. That's somebody that wants the best for you. Not somebody that can nitpick. Wait, I tell he. Or, that's not the same.
Yeah.
So for me, my why is important. And I think my message to anybody out there, find your why. Yeah. Why are you doing what is that you're doing? What is that you want to achieve? Go after it. Real talk. I mean, you're going to wait now for these zombies to come. We had ashfall. We had volcanoes. We had COVID. You had a solar eclipse. What more are you waiting for as a sign to get out there and do what you need to do with your life? You need to do it. Because, I mean, Matthew can't do it for you. I can't do it for you. But you have to recognize that. You might say, well, Simon, that they're in the path, and I never seen nobody doing this. Well, you got to start to make the path. The trailblazer part is never easy, And
never see anybody else doing it is my kind of my target. I love that place. The unknown.
The unknown, and then you create what it is that you want. Because in the unknown now, you have all creative license to develop or create the platform that you want to do what you want to do.
Correct.
Correct. Who would have thought that cocktails and comedy would marry so well together?
Yeah. You
going to a comedy show at a restaurant or a bar, they're serving what? Cocktails. So you got cocktails and comedy. But
that's what we gotta start doing as personal brands. We have to, and people in general.
Yeah.
We have to not follow pattern or to say, oh, we never see this before. You have to use that as an opportunity, because that's what create great brand differentiators.
Exactly.
When you're coming into a market or space, you don't want to blend in. You want to stand out. So you got to find out. So that thing that makes you different, that's your strength.
Correct.
That's your value proposition that you should be leading with.
That's right.
That's not a weakness or a downfall.
No, it's not.
So
that's your unique ability.
Exactly. So whatever you think it is, or you might think, okay, I'm from this place, or I'm from that place, or I taught this way. No, like all of these things that you're talking down on yourself, use that as your differentiator, and that's what makes you unique. And you talked earlier about being authentic.
Yeah, man, that's another thing the counselor was telling me. You gotta be your authentic self.
Yeah.
And my partner always encourages that. Like if you're not happy with something, Simon, say that you're not happy. Because most of the time we're like, all right, I cool, man, I cool, but why avoid a war and then you wage an internal battle in yourself?
Wow.
You avoid the war, you avoid the conflict, but internally you have a battle going on because you didn't like what was done to you, you don't like what was said, you don't like how the situation went, and you don't feel as if you have a voice. So in this season of my life, I find in my voice. And sometimes it means you have to say no to things, or no to people, or not yet, or I'm not interested, and focus on you. Because one of the things I recognize too is that what is more important is progress over perfection.
Correct.
A lot of people will not start or do anything unless all the conditions are perfect. But that's an illusion.
Yeah.
You have to start. Progress leads to perfection.
Yeah.
You don't start perfect and then progress. You know, I mean, come on, we watch Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yeah.
How much different incarnations or levels you got for Goku? Goku got like what, 25, 30? And he skipped them. No, he just jumped straight to the God level.
You just gotta start, man.
Yeah, man.
I put some videos out there and just telling people, just to encourage people to just start. You know, I also was guilty of like trying to have things line up, all the ducks line up in a row, dot the I's, cross the T's, whatever. And then you think that you're gonna have this special silver bullet to start with.
It doesn't work like that.
They don't work like that.
Because look at somebody, we have homegrown examples of persons who started small with a big vision. When we think about the Indian community and the Syrians that were here, that are here still, and their family, some of them came to Barbados only with a briefcase. And they started to sell clothes, they started to get things done. They start on a bicycle, then they moved to a van, and then they opened their own store. And then they own locations in Bridgetown and so on.
Correct.
It is a progression. Now, you have to ignore the voices that tell you about, man, I like how you do the video, but I would have do it this way and it should have started this way. And why you don't wait till you get everything together before you start? Nah, I have to start.
Nah, you got
the progress is important. The progress is important. And that's how you develop an industry. Because a lot of people say, oh, the local movies don't look like nothing. I say, well, have you checked the starting movies in Nollywood? We had some Nigerian movies that were so bad. But now the Nigerians have been able to perfect the art of storytelling and videography and cinematography, and they're getting better. They still have a lot to learn, but they're getting better. The same thing with Bollywood as well.
Exactly. The only thing that starts at the top is a grave digger.
Well said.
But you gotta start. You gotta start.
Yeah, you do.
And I mean this has been a really good conversation. I don't ever want it to end. But they're just looking at the time.
I understand.
And I hope that people really got a lot out of this. They may not have gotten any jokes as expected because we got a comedian, but as I said,
Correct.
you know, we're not here to pick his pocket, just pick his brain.
Correct.
And hopefully that this was as much value as a good laugh.
I think so. I hope because tonight, or should I say when they view it, they got to see Simon as opposed to Coke. They get to see Coke all the time.
Right.
So you get a chance to see Simon and how Simon thinks and, you know, what he's trying to do and achieve, you know?
Yeah, correct. If you had to make a choice between skits or stand-up, and if you had to do one forever, which one would it be?
I think it would be stand-up, not at this point.
It'd be stand-up?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it will be stand-up. I am beginning to understand stand-up and understand the formula. And I'm trying to create my own personal formula. When I look at all of our local comedians, from Matt Fingal to Trevor Eastman, they developed their own formula for telling jokes, for being hilarious on stage. I've done a lot of skits work because really I do acting. So from Laugh It Off to Pam Palam and all these shows I would have done, and even doing Rum and Koke. I enjoy Rum and Koke and the skits that we do. But I am interested. I am in the unknown when it comes to stand-up comedy, you know, and I'm learning how to get to the punchline faster, how to, you know, create a joke that would be, you know, that would resonate with people.
That's good, man. And don't be scared of the unknown. The unknown is this blank canvas. This is actually an opportunity to create something that is not there.
Correct. And I think that it is in the unknown. Sometimes you find that there are people with similar energies or similar vibrations that you say, why trying to do this too? I let you energy. One of the things I would want as a gem to leave out there for people is the power of collaboration. Collaboration and networking, very important. And when I say networking and collaborating, I mean when you meet people of similar minds. It's not a parasitic relationship, it's more like symbiosis. We both come together, we share ideas, and then out of sharing ideas, you move past sharing ideas to actually developing a strategy.
Right.
Then from strategy, you get a plan, and then from plan, you get a performance, and then after the end of the performance, you do a performance review.
Right.
That's how it progresses.
Yeah.
That's the nuts and bolts about it.
So before we wrap, and I forget, you got to leave your gem for my next guest.
Yes.
So I want you to dig deep, whoever comes on your heart, and just leave it.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, before I jump back into the conversation, I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor for this episode, GibbsDirect.com. As a business owner, time is precious. I don't have a lot of time to be driving around searching for products, especially supplements that support my active lifestyle. That's where gibbsdirect.com comes in. It's an online store based here in Barbados, and let me tell you, their user-friendly website makes it real easy for me to find what I want, add it to my virtual shopping cart, and then place my order. I can then pick up the items at their convenient pickup location the same day. If I spend $300 or over, I get free delivery to my house. And here's the best part. You listeners get access to a discount today. Just type the word GEMS as your promo code at the checkout to unlock your savings. So whether you're a busy entrepreneur like me or just someone that is just looking for convenience and quality products, be sure to check out gibbsdirect.com. Okay, now let's get back to the conversation.
I think that my gem today would be understanding the power of purpose. Identify what your purpose is. And once you identify what your purpose is, despite how, challenging or like out of the world your dreams may be, dream them and then identify your purpose, what your purpose is, and go towards that direction. And never be afraid to evolve. Evolution is important. You may have started off as a school teacher. Now you're doing something else. You may have started off in the banking sector. You feel this urge, that niggling urge, you're getting up every day and you're going to work, but you don't feel fulfilled. It means that you're in a place that you're not supposed to be. And allow that negativity to push you into becoming the person that you're supposed to be. We get uncomfortable. We find ourselves in uncomfortable situations because we're not where we're supposed to be, And then it becomes so septic that we actually have physical reactions to it. Some people get up every morning, they have a headache. Some people get up, their back is always aching, Some people get up and they throw up all the time because where they are mentally or where they may be in terms of their job or their life, they're not happy. They're not happy. So as a result, they can't function. So it is important. Your mental health and your survival in 2024 depends on the decisions that you make in terms of being able to choose another path for yourself, the right path. Because you might be on a path that you might say, well, this is all my life is. I don't think I could get out of it. You can, but it starts by making the first step. You might ignore calls from a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You may have to say, nah, I ain't like tonight, man. No, I ain't getting in the gap. I ain't doing whatever. You need to create that little cocoon for yourself. It's in that silence and in that darkness that you begin to evolve. It's hard to evolve and change in front of everybody. You need time away. And you will find in every religious book, whether it's with Muhammad or whether it's with Jesus, those guys took time away. They took time away. Jesus went off and he prayed. He was by himself, recharged himself, and he went back and do what he had to do. It's the same thing. We as human beings, we need to unplug. We need to unplug, and we need to take that time when we unplug to heal and also to challenge ourselves to be greater and to be better. But purpose, man. Purpose.
That was great, man.
You got me happy, man.
That was great.
Thank you so much.
You got like a whole book of gems I could tell.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Sharing some of the challenges and the wins and the losses. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it inspires someone that's listening.
Yes, please.
All right.
Man.
So until next time.
Thank you.
And go and support Simon Alleyne. What's the name of the show again?
Cocktails and Comedy, A World of Laughs.
Right. And this episode may not come out before that, unfortunately.
That's all right.
But we will see. But you got more coming.
We
got more things coming. So let's stay tuned and log on to the Instagram page.
Definitely.
All right. It's a wrap. Hold up. Before you go, I want to politely ask you to please join our mailing list. The link will be in the description below. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, it's going to be in the show notes. Okay? And you're going to want to be part of this mailing list because I will be sending out exclusive invites to networking events, pop-up shops, and branding workshops. There's a whole set of stuff happening. Yeah, so Gem City movement going on. Please subscribe to the mailing list. You will also get a peek on the inside of the making of everything that's happening here. All right? Peace.